say, like, going back to the family thing, like if you're truly going to give that the alcoholic or addict, a shot, like the house has got to be a sober environment. So, I know that when dad got sober, like that was one of mom's things, like, we had people over and stuff like that. Like, we're no alcoholic home, there's no alcohol being brought in. And, I think like when you roll the tape out and you are the one who makes the change, like dad did, like we're the ones in breaking the chain on what that looks like. So then it was me, then it was you. And so like you get married in sobriety, like Angie's never seen me drink or drug. I mean,
Right.
You think about those things, like it's that trickle down effect is huge, but it all starts with somebody making a change at home, which was mom. But then understanding, like, if we're gonna give dad the best shot of getting sober, we can't have stuff in the house that's gonna be a trigger for him.
Yep. It can't be. You can't put somebody. I mean, when you've gone through that amount of pain and destruction within a family, I think it makes sense, but is probably easier said than done. You can't put being sober at any sort of a risk, because then it's just back to square one, and it's not just the addict that needs some help, it's the families that need some help too. I was just going to say, I think it's really cool because you just brought up a good point. It's like we were the sober house, and when you go to a party, people are numbed up, and it's a fake happiness, and it's fake smiles, it's fake dancing, it's fake whatever, I shouldn't say fake, it's numbed whatever, I guess dad can get more into the science of it, when it comes to dopamine being released, when it comes to drugs and whatnot. And, the different stages where you're talking to me about the drunk actually starts to happen in the back of the head and moves forward. And the different stages of like, oh, I feel kind of good, like 5's better than 3. And then it's like, it goes forward and it's like, it affects kind of like your decision making. And it's like, oh, or not, or like, you don't feel as much fear. I don't know which part of the, Brandon, you would talk about with that, but it feels as much fear to like have the liquid courage or to be able to say whatever. And then it's like, it gets to a brownout and then a blackout. And then, we would have like a blackout of happiness that you would remember at our house from being a sober house, where we would put up a volleyball net. We would have the pool going. We would, you had the 4-wheelers, the dirt bikes, the boats. And I think that's another promise, is that you're not wasting your money on drugs and alcohol. You get all the toys to make memories with. And people would leave our house so happy, and they had the best time, and kind of refreshing that alcohol wasn't involved or drugs weren't involved. And you really got to see people really opened up, and when it was a non-judgmental, vulnerable place of everybody was able to be a kid, it was everybody remembered that. So it just takes a little courage to be able to do that, because at first it feels weird. But Dad, what do you think is, or Rick, what do you think is the second thing that's kept you sober for 17 years that you would talk about?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of all encompassing, because these are, so kind of like what Dad said, but it's like, if I want to get warm, I got to get around the fire. So what does that look like? So it's like, for me, my support group meetings, my home group, that's part of the discipline. Do I want to get up at 6:20 on a Saturday morning? No, I don't, but I want to stay sober. So I get up and I go to my meeting. So I don't just go to one meeting a week. I go to multiple. And so, for me, it's getting around the fire. It's like what Dad said, talking to another person in recovery. I do that weekly now. But then like yesterday was an opportunity. I could have said no, but like, it's also about doing service to help out the new guy. Right. And I had a guy who asked me to sponsor him. And so I agreed to sponsor him. And, when you're working with another alcoholic, that just like that revives you. You know, you're getting out of yourself. And so instead of just focusing on Rick 24/7, I now have the responsibility and have to take ownership on helping this guy. Like, I got this guy's life in my hands. Obviously he has to want, you know, to stay sober, which it looks like he does, but to have that opportunity to help out another person is huge as well.
I like that. So that if you want to be warm, you got to be around the fire. Kind of all encompassing. That's a good point.
How have you stayed so 10 years?
I would say a lot like what Rick had said, but I remember leaving a meeting one time when I was early in sobriety, and I was like, this is what I'm going to call life. Like, I'm going to go to some meetings. I'm going to talk to some old people that suck, that I don't relate with. And I'm going to eat ice cream at night and watch movies. And that's going to be my life, because I have to isolate myself, because I don't trust myself, and I'll end up getting messed up. Like, I was pissed. I was super pissed. One of the reasons why I moved to Minnesota is because that I found that after I was sober for a period of time, I developed relationships with other like-minded people. So I would only hang out with people that were wanting to be sober, going in the right direction, which is where I wanted to go, which was being, you know, sober lifelong. So I wanted to practice a program. I was very serious about it. I wanted to still be a kid. I wanted to have fun, you know. I wanted to learn how to talk to girls when I'm sober, you know. I can't be like, do you want a beer? Because I don't do that. So then you have to get a little creative. You'd be like, do you want to split a sandwich? They actually found that more funny than a guy asking them if they want a beer, you know. So
You want to buy me
what?
You want to buy me lunch?
Do you want to buy me lunch? Sure. Should use that. But you know, it was like I got sober at 22. You know, at that time, you know, I was playing hockey. So when you play hockey, you go play juniors. So now you're a freshman at 21 when you go to school. So you're a little bit older. And I was just in that stage where I needed help, you know, finishing school. And I guess coming back to the question that, like you're saying, Rick, it is all encompassing. But I would say how I've been sober lifelong is that Chris wants to have fun. And I'm very serious about my program, and I'm structured, even though I hate authority and schedules. And I don't like being told where to go, but I structure myself subconsciously almost. Every morning is the same. I wake up, I have a cup of coffee, I take a crap, I feel good, feel light, and then I go work out. And then after that, you know, I attack my workload, whatever that might be, or my goals for the day. And I remember to have fun along the way. And I plan other fun with other sober people. So I hang out with other sober people, you know. That's why I moved to Minnesota, because I developed these friendships after going to Step Up. And I think the coolest thing is that I've done so many things that I wouldn't do when I was using, because by the end of it, I was getting high and wanted to stay away from everybody and isolate, because I felt too stupid to even like be able to communicate with people. And I just wanted to literally be in a state of almost unconsciousness and, you know, melt away, you know. So I don't know. For me, I think the biggest things and why I want to be sober is I want my life. I want to create memories. I want my health. And really, that's all that matters, you know. So I don't know. It's definitely, like Rick said, again, it's all encompassing, but why get sober if you're not going to have fun? Like, why? Just, I would rather annihilate myself and ram myself into a tree, just like Rick, you know? And I did have those thoughts too, but I didn't get sober to not have fun and enjoy life. And I think sobriety has given me the opportunity to be an 8-year-old kid until the day that I die, which is really cool. You know, so, and it allows me to try stuff, because I have to get creative in being sober. You don't have that, you know, liquid courage. I got to go try. Remember when I asked for $100 to try yoga when I first got a yoga membership? And then after that, I needed help, but I figured out a way to be able to do yoga and hot yoga. And, you know, I fell in love with working out, and I started bringing other like sober buddies. You know, I'm like, try this. They're like, yoga? I'm not doing yoga. That's for girls, you know? And we ended up being in the front of the class, being the loudest ones, and everybody's cracking up and having a good time, you know? So we were still a little mischievous, you know, with our jokes and stuff, and young. Boys will be boys, if you want to put it, but we're doing the right things, you know. So I think the coolest thing about sobriety is that it allows me to be an 8-year-old kid, and I can be successful with whatever I do in life. So that's, I think the biggest things are working the program and have fun along the way, talking about those little victories. Otherwise, why be sober, you know? So
Yep, creating good memories.
yeah. One of the top things that's kept you sober this long?
Well, you guys touched on it, well, more than touched on it, but you know, it's staying close to the program. It's pretty much every day I'm talking to somebody or something comes up about the program, you know, even with mom. She wants to learn, which that's such a blessing. And you know, she'll ask questions, she'll tell me stuff, you know, she's reading constantly. But it's staying in touch with the program. It's staying with your meetings. The number one reason for relapse in our country is not going to meetings. The number two reason for relapse in the country is boredom. So you start going to meetings, you start getting bored, what do? You know?
Prime examples are Corona season, you know, the pandemic. I've had buddies relapse and they're getting stimulus checks, and it's like, I'm making more money and I don't have to work and nothing's happening. This world's coming to an end. I'm gonna get messed up. Boredom. It's just me in this house. Nobody will know, you know, just except for you. But
sure.
Yeah, staying close to the program is a good one.
Yeah. And getting the family to jump on board with the program, you know, it's everybody's issue. So if you can get the family involved, you have a lot more success. Success rate goes through the roof when you can get the family involved. The family says, I'm not drinking because you can't drink, you know, or whatever the case. It's amazing what happens. It's a team effort.
Rick, what do you think is the third thing?
Yeah, I mean, I so much rolling around in my head. It's I mean, you hear both sides of it, but I don't know. Like I think about if I did have a significant other, like, you know, you hear about other guys share their story. I don't know that I could remain sober if I had somebody, you know, that was still drinking and using. Like I hear some guys say, yeah, my wife still, you know, hits the Jiba at home. And I'm like, what? You know, how is that possible? You know, like I don't know.
It's a constant flag in your head. Every day you got to see it, smell it, and it's constantly there.
So like for me, it's a complete blessing that Ange is in my life. Like she very rarely drinks, and it's a very special occasion, you know, you know, whatever. But again, like she's a normie, and the thing that irritates me is like she'll get a $10 glass of wine and she'll maybe have 3 sips of it, you know, and I'm looking at it going, are you kidding me right now? This thing cost me $13 and it's sitting there and you didn't drink it all. But to the flip side of that, like my point to this is like, if I didn't have Ange by my side, who, you know, she totally supports what I'm doing. Like we had 20 guys in my backyard last Sunday, first time we did it, and she was like, yeah, sure, do it. You know, it wasn't even like second guessed it. And I just think you know, having a wingmate, a teammate, you know, like that for me is just, I don't see myself staying sober if I have someone who's still using out there. So I think for me, that's would be my third one, you know, kind of like that pillar in my sobriety is
yeah, I gotta piggyback off that, because I'm a lot like you, and I remember being at meetings and some guys would be like, why is it an issue if your significant other has a drink or a drug? You know, you're the one with the problem, they're not. And it's like, it's number one, true, but number two, define your relationship. It's about unity and truly loving somebody. And when you truly love somebody, you care about them and you want both parties to be successful. And you know, maybe it's a burden, maybe it's the blessing in disguise, you know, living sober. You have to figure that out for you. But for me, I'm in the same boat with Lauren. I'm so grateful that she sponges in the program. She wants to learn more, you know, and all three of us have women that want to learn more and are grateful for the program. And all three of them have said that their lives are better because of the program. You don't have to be a sober person to go through the program. They're literally blueprints to have a happy, joyous, and free life. And, you know, for some of those guys that, like, my wife still drinks, you know, at home and stuff like that, Lauren's the same way. I don't even when she wants to, she says that she's going to, like, that every once in a while, and finally when that day comes, like, she doesn't. So the guys bring that up to me where it's like, it's your problem, not theirs. And I'd say, okay, great, that works for you. But if I were new and sober, I would be done with you. If you were drinking, I'm out. Have fun, go find somebody that you like to do it with, because it's about my life now. It's not about what you like or dislike. It's about my life. And I take it that seriously. And I think part of taking it that seriously has kept me sober for 10 plus years. You know, so, and it's not an option, because I'm not going to do anything, literally anything, that is going to put me at risk, because it's not worth it. And it's not worth the family going through that stuff again. So you have to decide, you know, do you want your family? Do you want to be, you know, happy, or do you want to be right? Do you want to live, or do you want to be righteous and, you know, whatever. But there's just, you could have conversation about all that stuff. But it's funny with all three of us sitting here, how lucky we are and how cool it is, you know, and it's working. So it must be a recipe that works. But if I was new in sobriety and, you know, somebody, I just wouldn't even do it. Even if I had 5-10 years and I met somebody, I'm not dating you if you're drinking, because, you know, the biggest thing that comes with me is that I don't drink. If you find that a burden, then great. And for me, that's like, all right, it's not meant to be. Cool, next, you know? So.
The guys, you know, go ahead and drink, it doesn't bother me. That's just ego. That's nothing more than ego. And subconsciously, you're not even aware of it, but subconsciously, when somebody's drinking in front of you and you're putting yourself in that position, it's working on you. You know, slick's on your shoulder at that point. Just, you know, yeah, these guys are drinking, you know, it's not that bad. And yeah, you could have one, and all those thoughts. And even if you don't drink, it's working on you. And the more you put yourself into the barbershop, you're going to get the haircut, right? So,
well, and on top of that, to your really good point, is like, you're going to become irritable. You're going to become, your character defects, you're going to be short, and they're not going to know why you're short. It's because you're so uncomfortable that you're acting out, you know? Right. So sorry, I just want to add, because that just triggered for me.
No, that's good, you know, and, you know, do you love the drink, or do you love the person you're with? What do you love more? So you either don't do it and love that person, or you do it, you know? And we are lucky. We're all lucky, you know, that people make sacrifices, if you want to call them that, you know, to stay clean and sober. I don't really think it's such a sacrifice. And it's funny, I kind of chuckle at that, because, you know, years ago I wouldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
But
this I had a thing, you know.
When I was in Hazelden, and it was about time to leave, there was a guy 50 some years old, and I was in my 40s then, but he's 50 some years old. This always stick in my head. He lived in Kalamazoo, and a day before he's leaving Hazelden, he just sitting there crying like crazy. And I said to him, you know, what's the deal? You know, you're getting out of here. You're going to start, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he says, I know when I get home, my wife's going to be drinking. And he said, I know she's going to be sitting there, you know, and I'm not going to be able to stay clean and sober. I said, well, what are you going to do? He says, well, I'm not going to tell her that. I said, why aren't you? Well, she'll get mad. I said, that's the whole disease. You know, you're putting yourself in jeopardy. You're killing yourself, you know. And I said, she either has to stop, or, you know, you have to get out of that house.
What's more important? We're a sick relationship, and when somebody continues to do that, they don't really care about you. They care about themselves.
Right. And that's how strong addiction is. You know, normies don't understand that.
You can't care about somebody and continue to use what's going to kill that person.
Right.
I think what's been cool for me too is like I always it makes me smile that when she does it, but you know, again, it's every blue moon, but she'll say, hey, do you mind if I have a glass of wine? Like she'll ask out of respect, you know, how I'm feeling and how I'm doing, you know.
Which is the important part, because you some days you don't care, or like you're not struggling because you're so thick with working your program, and some days are difficult where it's like, actually, like, can we go for a walk, you know? Like, yeah, being self-aware.
That's my point, is like, you know, to have someone who, instead of just like getting the drink and then me being uncomfortable, you know, she asks first out of respect of me, you know. And so that's also, it makes me
Dad, makes you feel loved, honored, like you're in a marriage, you're a team, you're supported. Doesn't make you feel isolated like drinking and drugging did. Doesn't make you feel, you know,